Have you ever prayed to God for something you wanted so bad and He told you no? Have you ever prayed to God for something you wanted so bad and He told you no, and you kept praying about that thing and God said, what are you doing? I told you no. But if you're like me, you're stubborn, so you kept praying about it and you kept praying about it, and God said, you know what, okay, here you go. And as soon as you received that thing, you realized it was the worst possible thing you could have ever asked for. And see, that happened to me. And when it did, it left my emotions and spirituality in a barrage. My current perspective on life flawed, but see, I'm hard-headed. I needed those moments to bring me closer to God. But see, staying that way is hard. It's hard for me to be content when my dreams are elastic. But it seems that God was that belt I didn't tightly fasten. In fact, I sagged Him. So it shouldn't be a surprise when what I want doesn't match what God has granted. See, sometimes I find myself praying and demanding instead of listening and fastening myself to His word. So I always pray this prayer that God gives my audience members transparent sight. Because even though they see me, I'll do wrong. Help them still see the light. The fact I may sin tonight is a plight that burdens my soul. Lord, your spirit is captivating. But to keep it real, the world excites my soul. Help me grab the hem of your garment before I'm too old. I'm a rebel and often don't do what I'm told, but I'm realizing these trials you throw in my life are my only way of paying toll. See, I'm trapped behind bars and lines that say you will never ever make it. And even if I'm wrong and fall short, that's still a risk worth taking. Sometimes I'll ask myself, is it really worth it? I have deep thoughts I want to convey in front of crowds, but on paper, I can never make them sound perfect. I sacrifice my personal life every time I step to the mic for mere strangers' enjoyment. But God says you were cut a while back, and this tool I've given you is the ointment. Your words will heal and deliver, make the fake shiver, so never question why you do what you do. And whatever I bestow, no man on earth can take away from you. Don't use your talents mainly to battle or gain fame. And first and foremost, whatever you do, remember my name. God, please do whatever you see necessary or fit to keep me on the right course. Because I would rather be an ugly human being still left with a chance than end up a beautiful Channel 7 News corpse. What do you do when your passion doesn't pay your bills? What do you do when your passion doesn't pay your bills? I mean, what container does your passion really fill? See, I feel fulfilled whenever I step up and pour out my heart and soul on the mic, but some audience members still leave empty like I never spilled anything. So I'm steady thrashing through obstacles, trying to overcome my own doubts, because the Lord told me my passion is the one thing I should never try to live life without. He gave it to me to use, not refuse, so I keep that in mind when I hear those one-sided reviews like, it's the dude with the locks again, or oh girl, you don't even got no erotica pieces. He think he better than us because he be talking about Jesus. See, no, I just talk, but if you choose to listen, that means I've already been aligned into my correct position. And see, I don't welcome opposition, but I will stand with the truth. And see, my passion is the general and the alphabets of my troops. And when we get information, words are formed. Through my passion, I am reborn and shown what my true purpose is. See, if I just rhyme a lot and I don't have a message, that's worthless to me. If I don't inspire you and leave you with something to dwell on, I'm not taking my part in heightening your senses, and no super elaborate rhyme scheme here. The poem is for y'all. I desperately want you to get it. Because somewhere along the line, I think poets stop spitting pieces with messages and merely spitting pieces for themselves, taking part in the game where there's nothing to gain, so why are we playing? Grabbing a hold of the proverbial arrow and releasing it at high velocity to the target. And everyone has something to sell, and there will always be a market. See, some people are selling fish, while others are selling chicken, but I'm selling truth, and there's no one left to listen. And it seems like the very same people who I try to uplift are the very same ones trying to bury my God-given gift, taking my syllables and drag them through the mud. We see those hate-filled stares, but we must combat them with love. And it used to be a cliche to me that it costs nothing for you to pay attention to me, but it's crazy to see what poets, pastors, and motivational speakers do with adjectives, nouns, and verbs. Someone asked me the other day my passion was. I pray it's obvious. It's spoken word. The first poem I ever wrote was prompted by my mom saying, you know, my grand aunt was retiring, we were having a family function, and she was like, you know, you should do something for her. I was like, what? She was like, I don't know, you know, write a poem. So just like that, I took a piece of paper with me in the car. It's like a 20-minute ride, and I wrote a poem, and everyone was, you know, was shocked that I wrote it. They thought my mom wrote it, and I just read it. So over the years, I've grown very fond of that moment, because what it did, it embodies my mother's intuition. Unbeknownst to her, she didn't know I'd fall in love with poetry, but I loved my mom, and I knew she loved me. And she made an earnest, honest suggestion, and by the grace of God, that's turned into, you know, like my life's work. So this poem, and she always says, you don't have to memorize your poems for them to be impactful. You just have to mean what you say. And so I take that to heart every time I sit down to write. And I want to make sure it's something that I would represent, that I'm proud of. And one thing, or one person that I'm extremely proud of is my mother and all mothers that I know. One thing I never lacked is love in my life. And my mom let my brothers and I know early that we are kings and we should walk like kings. And this poem I'm going to read, and it's entitled Mommy, and it's about my mother, and I'm sure you can relate. Every mother, you know, every mother is special to their kids, to their families, to their community. Mommy. The way she juggled kids, groceries, and dry cleaning, she be magician. How she hold baby, fold clothes, and do dishes. How she read, clean, and check homework. And when belly start to rumbling, she show you how the stove work. If you misbehave, you get to see how her belt work. Make work 9 to 5 seem easy like breathing. Still find time to surprise her boys every single season. Looking daunting task, straight bold face in the eye, tired as hell, frustrated but never cry. And when relationships sank, she never died. And see her battle cry be, God don't give you more than you can bear. Spitting that poetry in my ear. Langston Hughes, life ain't no crystal stare. But with her crystal glare, she always made me feel important. Told me young I was a king with crown and walk like one, and a queen would come and add adornments to my crown. Always smiling, seldom frown. She'd be amazing and hospitable as long as schoolwork was finished. Kept me reading books and told me getting good grades are my business. I witnessed her not eat or sleep for 24 hours, full-time at work and school. Then coming home to a Ninja Turtle / Ghostbusters feud. And even though she was tired, she would put all doubt to rest and scream aloud, you know Power Rangers rule. Not knowing she was training Rangers how to tap into the power God gave them, at all stages giving advice. And now it seems the only advice gives is you need to find a wife. For the rest of my life, I vow to make you proud. And in case you're not sure, Mom, I love you. And wherever you are, mothers around the world, stand up and take your bow. How could you? How could you? How could you desecrate something so delicate, leaving her insides desolate? See, now she messes with the same sex. When good guys approach her, she runs from them. Because of you, she's now scared of men, and it's sad. Because you're the one she trusted the most. Packed up her things and left because she only enjoyed her company when she was becoming moist. And it's crazy because you went to church and you preached and teach that sex before marriage couldn't and wouldn't work. For heterosexual sex, she should wait. But behind closed doors, every day at 4, her body you continue to violate. See, this is an equation that doesn't equate. And you sat and watched as he played with her chess. You need to check your mate, because what he's doing with her is no game. And see, there's an old saying that goes, if looks could kill. Well, I'm here to tell you, if that saying were true, then I personally would have murdered you. I go through dozens of boxes of tissues thinking about her new issues and how you could misuse something so sacred. Calling yourself a man but forcing a little girl to get naked. You injected problems with her image. When she talks to people, she now looks down at the ground. You're the reason she's timid. You injected problems with her confidence, forcing your manhood inside her esophagus. Now her body is a sarcophagus for her heart, which is now a tomb which came from a womb you helped to father. And when you did your dirt, you used condoms. And glad that you did. See, you didn't want to have another kid with your kid. Forcing her to take shots of your kids without the camera lens, and so you try to make an amends by buying her affection, playing the good guy this week, but next week trying to fondle her midsection, and there's no prison sentence in life that would ever suffice. But it's okay, because God told me he sentenced your consciousness to life.